Hey everybody, Lloyd Lofton here. Down here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're just getting started with our Alpha Advisors. Type in the chat box and let me know where you're from. I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I also want to know if you used any of the ideas, techniques, or tips that we gave you the last time we got together. We're going to be together for just about an hour. And today, some of you probably ask, and you should have asked, what does April tax time update mean for financial advisors? So I also want to hear from you to see if you know what today is. And I'm smiling because I've had a lot of people that didn't realize what today was. Pensacola, Florida, welcome aboard. Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York's a little far from my daughter. She's down in Manhattan. So a lot of people didn't know or didn't realize what today is. So if you realize what today is down there in La Crosse, New Mexico, type in the chat box and tell me what today is, because I think it's kind of interesting and it's going to play into the topic that we're going to discuss today. And when I've got somebody from Madison, New Jersey. Stacy Gilbert's on here. Hey, Stacy. So in Madison, New Jersey, you probably have some state, county, and city things happening that are similar to what I'm going to talk about today that you should take advantage of. Mike Campbell, happy birthday. Okay, Mike Campbell, is that your happy birthday? Stacy's from Denver. She's a big skier. She just got back from doing some skiing. So in your state, in your county, in your city, you probably have some of the things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about them from not just a technical standpoint of what they are, but specifically we're going to talk about, there we go. Yay, Sage. Good job down in Canyon, Texas. Tax Independence Day. Well, wait a minute now. Oh, you're in Texas, so of course it's Tax Independence Day. Yeah, this is tax day for sure. So today we're going to talk about the tax season. And not only are we going to talk about the tax season, I want to kind of bring in focus the fact that most advisors that I've worked with over the years and that I coach all the time don't recognize what the tax season actually means to their business. We've got Fort Worth, Texas is on here. They don't recognize what the tax season does for their business. So we know that right now the tax deadline is here. Today is the day. You're supposed to have your taxes filed today, or you're supposed to have filed an extension. And over the last few years, that date's been pushed out and out and out. I don't know if it'll continue to be pushed out with what they're saying as the pandemic's winding down. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not really sure about that. But I do want to give you a couple of helpful hints today. And one of them is when you look at the slides on there, I want you to have three things. In fact, you should stop right now and make sure you have these three things for the rest of the time we're together today. And the first thing is that you have to listen to understand, not listen to respond. So people will listen to this and they'll come back and they'll say, oh, I already know that, or I don't do that, or I don't have clients to do that. Don't do that. The second thing is get your phone ready or your pen ready to write things down, because you're going to get a lot of great marketing ideas. And the third thing is that you need to pick at least one thing you're going to do differently between now and next tax season. So the first helpful hint is don't forget to let your tax preparer know if you've made any 2021 individual retirement account contributions, Roth conversions, or qualified charitable distributions. Type in the chat box if you think that is good advice. If you think that should have been told to your clients. Because I'm going to tell you something. All the words that you see and all the slides I'm going to give you today are bolded. Those are marketing messages. And if you did not have an email funnel set up with email templates that you can market out, that you can send out to your list on a regular basis, then you're missing the opportunity to build a relevant relationship with your prospects and stay in front of them all the time. So the first tip you get right here is, and I like Richard's comment, duh. The first tip you get right here, and if you don't have a funnel put together, you need to take this advice right here. And when you get off this webinar today, put your funnel together for next April. Because this is the question that you should be asking in your email communication with your client. And I'm going to show you, in fact, I'm going to have you count as we go through this, how many different marketing messages there are. So the helpful hint, this is an email template you would send out. Don't forget to let your tax preparer know if you've made any 2022, right? This is going to be for next year. Individual retirement account contributions, Roth conversions, and qualified charitable distributions. And the reason the IRA, the Roth, and the qualified charitable distributions are bolded is those could actually be 3 separate email templates, couldn't they? Depending on where the prospect came from, whether it's a list, direct mail, what type of prospect it is. The charitable donation deduction for the standard filings has ended. So giving to a nonprofit, well, that's a great way to give back, and we should encourage people to do it. I do it myself. In 2020 and 2021, it's those donating cash to charity were able to make that deduction up to $600, $300 for individuals. But we know that ended, right? Notice the words that are bolded. That's your messaging. That is a separate email template that you could have sent out, and you probably should send out next year. And I wrote it for you. Unfortunately, due to the elimination of this exemption, you won't receive a tax break for your kind deeds in 2022. Well, this will say 2023 unless you itemize. Those bolded words are what goes in your subject line, and that's what causes people to open the email marketing. So do you kind of get the feel for what we're going to do here? For the rest of this, I'm going to show you, I'm going to quit reading these to you, but I'm going to point out to you what the marketing message is. And then I'm going to talk to you about where you get your lead source from and what you should be doing, because everything you're going to see creates an opportunity for you to stay in front of your prospects and your clients for the entire year. In other words, we're going to use the tax code to stay relevant to everybody that we communicate with. The next one is the standard deduction increase. We know that if you're not itemizing for 2023, remember we're talking about 2023 now, 2022 is gone, right? That tax filing just happened. But wait a minute, is that true, Lloyd? That may not be true. There may be some other times during the year where people are going to be filing different than today. Okay, all right. So the bolded words there, the 2022 standard deduction, the amount that can be withheld from your income before taxes applied, has been raised. Notice the words, not itemized, standard deduction, raised. That's the type of phrasing that needs to be in the email subject line. And when you provide this information, your call to action is to get more information from you. They schedule an appointment. And it even goes down to the details. You can read all that. You probably already read that. But each one of them, a single filer, that's an email template. Married individuals, that's an email template. And it gives you an opportunity to segment your list so that you can more perfectly target the message to that particular group. And the great thing about the government is they change the laws and regulations all the time, which constantly gives you new material. So for an unmarried individual filing single and head of household, an additional $1,750 is allowed for those 65 or older. Well, wait a minute. 65 and older, that's another email template, right? That's another segment of the list that I'm sending out. And that gives me an amount, $1,750, that I can use that in the subject line and in the heading. We have new 2020 income tax brackets. Now, unless something changes, it's the government, so everything changes all the time. Unless something changes, these brackets will probably be the same for 2023, but at least for this year's, this is what they are. The taxable income needed to hit a tax bracket increased 3%. That's a 3%. I can think of marketing messages I can give. Did you get your 3% increase? Was your income hit by the 3% increase? Were your taxes impacted by the 3% increase? Those are subject lines in an email or in a Facebook ad that will cause somebody to open your email. And I think that's kind of the key about email marketing, right? Is you want them to open the email, you want them to read the email, and you want them to click. You want them to do something. In fact, all of your marketing should be centered around how you want them to feel. Write this down. How you want them to feel, what you want them to do with the information, and you want to make it as easy for them to do it as possible. So what do you think? Type in the chat box and tell me what you think. I'm going to show you the next line here, but I want you to tell me when you see the bolded words, what do you think the marketing message is? So go ahead. I'll give you 5 seconds. Well, I'm not a good singer. I'll give you 5 seconds. Give me a marketing message based on the slide you see there. Go ahead. I'll wait. You got time. Type one marketing message in there. If you're stumped, I'm about to give you a hint. Here's the hint for you. Each rate line is a marketing message. Not only is each rate line a marketing message, it is a target market. It is also a lead type. So for example, 24% means that in 2022, their income is $89,000 to $170,000. So when you buy a profile list, for example, you can target that profile list to singles, marrieds, you can target that to age, and you can target it to income. So you could actually get a list specific to a tax rate, 24%, 32%, 35%. Some of you want to work with high net worth clients, 37%. You could get a list like from WS Ponton, and you could create an email template, a funnel, and you could have a different email template to each one of these groups because the tax rate applies a little bit differently to them. Type in the chat box and tell me if you see that as something that would be useful to you. Do you think that's something that you would use? And if you would use it, how would you use it? Just type in the chat box. I'm going to keep moving on, but I want to see your comments. So the next one is the 2022 capital gains brackets. There was a proposal for long-term capital gains rate for 2022 of up to 25%, but it didn't come to fruition. So here's my question for you. If it didn't come to fruition, does that mean politicians have stopped thinking about it? Or does that mean that it's still in the mix and it may come up later? Because if you think it's still in the mix and it could come up later, that's an email template and that's a subject line. So you've got the entire year between now and next April 18th, unless they change the date, to send that message out. And if the laws change, if it's amended, you're instantly prepared for that. And like it says here, it's important to remember that the short-term capital gains are taxed as ordinary income. So for taxpayers with that modified adjusted gross income of $200,000, singles, $250,000 for those that are married, filing jointly, you've got the 3.8% net investment income tax. Where's the email template for the net? NIIT. Because right there is your target market. 15%, $41,000 to $459,000. That's a profile list you can get. Married, $83,000 to $517,000. That's a profile list you can get. Well, Lloyd, that sounds good. I can get it. The profile list is about $115. I can get with phone number and email when available. But what's the message? Well, for taxpayers whose modified just gross income over $200,000, for those single, $250,000 for those married filing jointly, there's an additional 3.8% net investment income tax. Do they want to pay that? Are you prepared for that? Were you planning on that? How would that impact? How many questions can we think to ask? I mean, it's a great opportunity. So I'm going to stop for a minute. Type in the chat box and tell me if you feel like any of these tips have been useful so far. All right, yeah. The IRS gives a 3% break. Yes, I have to prepare clients on tax planning strategies. I will talk about it. Good, Richard. Good job. I'm proud of you, man. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just reading a couple of these real quick here. Yeah, IRS gives that 3% break. Absolutely. So let's get some specifics here. We know April 1st is the RMD. Is everybody aware of that? April 1st was when the RMDs were required. So they had to have the RMDs. Once they turn 72, they must take their yearly required minimum distribution from their IRAs. If they turn 72 in 2021 and haven't satisfied the first RMD, then they've got to do so by today. But guess what? Today's the day. You can't put a marketing email template together yesterday and send it out, right? But now you know for next April, you need to have a marketing template ready. And that should go out by February 15th. February, March, April, right? You want 2 months lead on that because your templates are going to be in a funnel and they're going to have different messaging and they're going to go out at different times on a morning, on an afternoon, and on an evening. So you can see when people respond to their emails. Here's another message. We know the individual tax returns are due, but what else is due right now? The first quarter estimated tax payments. So most of you probably got on here. How many of you got on here and on April 18th, all you thought about was the individual taxes? Type yes or no in the box. How many of you just thought about the individual taxes? You didn't think about the first quarter taxes. And you don't have to be a large business to have the first quarter taxes. That's not actually necessary. You could be a small business owner and have the corporate taxes due. So again, you have to have your email template prepared to address that. We know that the first quarter of next year, the exact same issues are going to come up. And then the deadline to make a 2021 IRA contribution, that's a different messaging, isn't it? So you could actually get a list, again, I'm not promoting the company, there's a bunch of companies out there, Target Leads and WS Ponton. You could get a list of people who own an IRA and you could target them on February 15th that they've got until April 18th to make that, to make that contribution. So let's go with another one. Here's June. So look how many marketing messages there are right here. And I'm already, like 10, 15 minutes into this. Look how many marketing messages there are in here. Then you've got June. The second quarter's due. I mean, isn't that great about the first quarter, the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter? Every one of those are marketing messages. Every one of those gives you an opportunity. And remember, the work from home change in our economy means there's tons of people working from home now as independent contractors and have the exact same kind of issues as the brick and mortar small business owner. And then you've got the 2021 individual tax returns due for individuals living outside the U.S. So some of you who have relatives outside the U.S., some of you who have relatives that are in the military, people that are working outside the U.S., they have a different time frame for getting their taxes in. Again, that's a different marketing message. It's a different market, and it's a different lead that you get, right? A different lead type that you're going to get. Then, oh my God, another one, Lloyd? Geez, I don't have time for all this marketing. Then you have September 15th. That's the third quarter 2022 estimated tax payment. Next September would be the 2023, but you've got, if you thought that you missed, if you got into this today so far, and your thought was, oh my God, I can't believe, Lloyd's right, I missed all these marketing opportunities. You have tons of marketing opportunities to go forward with now. I mean, my counsel to you is if you don't do your own email marketing, get with the person who does it for you and get these messages put together. because someone's going to get in front of them. And when someone gets in front of them, they're going to pick up those lost commissions that aren't being used right now. Now, look what happens in October. You got another one. The extended individual tax returns are due. So if you filed an extension back on April 18th, then those taxes are now due. So those of you who missed the April 18th opportunity to market, you're not done. Now, who normally, for a lot of businesses, a lot of small business owners, work from home people that do their own taxes or have someone else do their taxes, what's another market for you? Preparers, right? I mean, the great thing about preparers, I used to network with CPAs all the time. The great things about CPA is if I can show them how to eliminate, prevent, start, or stop things that are negatively happen with their customers, they're more than interested to find out. So this is a great way. Advisors ask me all the time, how do I network with tax people, Lloyd? Well, one of the things is talk their language. And the tax season is their language. What are the 3 benefits that their customers can get from that tax preparer referring you? And I've shown you some of those just by the regulations that are changing. So you got October 17th. Is there anything else? Yeah, December 31st. That's the deadline to satisfy the 2022 RMD. You're not done. That RMD for April 18th was for last year, for 2021. You have the whole year to go out there and reach out to people. And think of what an RMD means. I remember a client in Johnston, Tennessee that called me up. I think he was 73, 72, something like that. And his wife, who had just turned 70, this is back when the RMDs were 70, got a check from one of her qualified accounts that she didn't ask for and she didn't want. And they realized that that was going to make them go over the Social Security threshold, and they'd have to pay some taxes on their Social Security. And he called me frantic. Is there anything we can do about this? And the irony of the insurance business is that health insurance is tax deductible. So they were able to take that RMD and pay an annual premium on a long-term care policy. So there's tremendous opportunity in doing the marketing besides the fact that you're booking your calendar. Yeah, so type in the chat box for a minute and let me know if this has been helpful to you, because we're going to get into a few more technical things, and then I'm going to hit you with a ton of different messaging. So just tell me if you think this has been helpful to you. Should I keep giving you more of it? You're suggesting a marketing calendar? Are you not? Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, Henry. I should have said the marketing calendar. All of this should be on a marketing calendar. And your marketing calendar should be tied into your CRM, and it should automatically pop up and let you know what's going to happen. You know, your tools to run your business should inform and instruct you. They should not take you out of production time. And so when you have a marketing calendar that's integrated with your CRM and you set these funnels up, then your CRM informs you what's happening today. Every day, you should get a notification that tells you, here's the marketing that's going out. Liking these, Lloyd. Great. Thank you very much. Thanks. Appreciate that. So your calendar should tell you everything that's going out and everything that's going on. And nothing builds confidence. Nothing builds confidence. It's like when I was selling health insurance and I'd get somebody on the phone and they would say, oh, I just bought a Medicare supplement 3 weeks ago. I would say, that's great. It's important to have that taken care of you. I'm really proud of you for doing that. Do you mind if I ask you a question? What company did you get that with? And they would tell me, Physicians Mutual. Do you mind if I ask what plan you got? Plan F. What objection do you have if I call you in the next 6 to 9 months to see if I can increase your benefit or lower your costs? You know what? 80% of the people would always tell me yes. They either told me yes to get me off the phone or they told me yes because everybody wants to compare prices. And what I learned is that I could book my calendar. And if it was March when I was making that phone call, All of a sudden, next March, I look at my calendar and I've already got 28 people to call. So that's what's great about doing it. Is there a CRM you recommend? That's one of the great things about the program I'm going to show you at the end of this is that there are a lot of resources available to you. Um, my answer to is there a CRM I would recommend is I would have to talk to you personally to find out what your business is and how you use it. But I will tell you that in the Advisors Max class, that's one of the things that we talk about. I go through a whole list of CRMs in there in that class. So let me get back to this. So financially fit in 2022. Again, I'm putting this out as a sample of an email template. And the bolded words are the words that are your messaging in the subject line, right? So whether it's traveling, spending time with the family, or funding your child's education, ask yourself, that right there is a heading. That right there can be the start of an email. Were you able to do what you love? See, great stories are about people, not things. And people like to feel like that they're connected with. What they don't like is they don't like to be sold. So let's look at another messaging. Now, if you just take the financial fitness, for instance, if you're planning a dream vacation next fall, start depositing money into a savings account now so there won't be any surprises later. Look at the words I bolded there. Dream vacation next fall, start any surprises later. You can create a subject line on that, and there's your email template. And when you put that in a funnel, here's what happens. People can disagree with a product, a company. They can even disagree with an idea. But you know what they won't disagree with? An experience. When you tell stories in your messaging of experiences other people have had, people relate with that. And if the story is a good enough story, they'll stick around at the end to see what happened. So when you put together your email template funnels, they should lead them on a journey. Watch this next one here. Do the math. That's my subject line in the email template. Next, it's important to determine your net worth, both what you owe and what you own. Your assets include your home value, savings account balances, checking accounts, 401k, and outside savings. See, what happens is after I catch your attention, then you read the email. What I haven't put in there, we don't have time for that today. You can jump in the Advisors Max class and see the call to actions. But you got to have a great call to action in there. And the tax seasons give you a great opportunity to have a lot of call to actions. See what I did there? This includes your mortgage and other consumer debts. Tracking these numbers every January gives you a good picture of your progress. Click here and I'll give you a free form to track that. So you can have a great call to action in there. Rebalance your portfolio. 2021 was a crazy year in many ways. To make sure you're still on target for your goals, take a deep dive into your portfolio. Click here and I'll schedule a free 15 minutes. See how that works? Stocks overappreciated significantly in 2021. So now is likely a good time to rebalance your portfolio. Maybe the heading on this one is rebalance. And how many different tax seasons have we talked about are coming up? And look at all the messaging there. Your head should be spinning with all these messages. So here's how I would frame this one. For example, if your target asset allocation is 60% stocks and 40% bonds, and you have not rebalanced recently, your allocation may have drifted to a more aggressive allocation of 70% stocks and 30% bonds. You ready? Here's the hook. Here's the click. Is that what you were expecting? Is that what you want to have happen? Click here to get your answers. Schedule a time. That's how we do that. We do the for example and then a great call to action. Show me the free money. Did you know the 401k, you can read it faster than I can, raised in 2022 per individual? The did you know is a great way to start off an email. In other words, what we want to do is we want to talk with our prospects, not at our prospects. Those 50 or older, wait a minute, 50 or older, what is that again? Oh, that's a target market and that's a lead type. Whenever you see things like those 50 and older, that's a target market and it's a lead type. If you have a good lead source, then you go to that lead source and you say, I need this type of lead. That's a total of 27,000 for each half a couple. Do you like the way that's worded? I like the way that's worded. I'm going to pat myself on the back here. I like the way that's worded. Half a couple. So I take a husband and wife, and in their mind, mentally, emotionally, I divide them in half, because one of them, I can promise you, if my wife and I saw the same thing, she would have a little bit different take on something than I would have on it. Half a couple. I wonder if that's a marketing message. Even if you don't put in the maximum amount every year, it's crucial. Notice the words I'm using, the words that's bolded, crucial. Do you invest enough? The invest isn't important. Advisors take all this time to try and stress words like invest, like are you investing the right amount? No. Invest enough. That's an emotional word. To take advantage of your employer's full company match. Not doing so, I love this one. You ready? Not doing so is like giving away free money. So type in the chat box and give me a subject line heading for that. Come on, this somebody's got to do this. This has got to be easy. It can't just be me. That's really, really easy, right? Not doing so is like giving away free money. Type in the chat box and tell me a subject line on that. You can come up with one. I'm going to give you one here. I'm going to give you a great one. And I've already used the word. Stop giving away free money and put it in your pocket. That's a great subject line, because that's exactly what they're doing. If they don't take full advantage of their company's match, they're giving away free money, aren't they? Examine other saving vehicles. Contributing towards your 401k is not the only tool you should be using to plan for your retirement. And look at the last part about this. You will never pay taxes on that money ever again. See, I would never get in a debate with someone about whether they should or shouldn't have a Roth IRA. And truthfully, until you do a full financial evaluation of their situation, we really shouldn't be making any blanket statements to them about what's good or not good. But I can tell you a true statement is if they consider placing money in a Roth IRA, while they won't get the tax deduction, they will never pay taxes on that money ever again. See how I said that? Notice the voice emphasis I used on that? And what's great about doing this in our marketing is when we talk to people, we want to make sure that our words are congruent with the messaging that they're receiving from us. That's how we build trust. And in fact, the Roth IRA is a nice complement to a pre-taxed 401k. See how I tied that back in there? It's a nice complement. Here's another messaging. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But again, go to the bolded words. What words have I bolded that can influence, that draws attention, that strikes the emotion, that relate to the experience people naturally go through? Navigate, weather, and unanticipated life events. The great thing about the news and the government, as we saw today and yesterday in the news when we were talking about inflation, is they tell us, last week they came out with the inflation rate. This week they came out with wholesale inflation. Well, last month, wholesale inflation was 7.9%. Wholesale inflation now, this month, I think was 8.5%. I would take my email template that I already sent out last month about the 7.9% wholesale inflation, and I would repeat it and bold my words more and put an X over the 7.9% and insert the 8.5 in big reds and ask the question, did that affect your savings, your spending, and your accounts more than you wanted or more than you expected? I mean, what a great question. More than you wanted or more than you expected? I don't ask me if it affected it. It did affect it. I know that. That's a fact. I just want to know if it was more than they wanted or more than they expected. And because I talk about the establishing and maintaining a healthy emergency fund, it's also critical to remain flexible. Everything we're talking about in this messaging is taking our prospects on a journey. And we're going on that journey together. And in that journey, they learn that I am empathetic, understanding, and relatable. And they feel like that I'm always on top of what's happening in their life. And at the point in time, something happens in their life, in the economy, in their job, in their lifestyle, and life events that causes them to seek out an answer. I want them to see me as a subject matter expert, not as someone who marketed a product to them. For example, we've heard this for, I don't know, a year and a half now, maybe longer. Build back better. I'm not talking about politics. Whatever your politics are, you have the right to have whatever politics you want to have. Just talking about messaging and marketing your business and your services. But build back better is a great marketing phrase for you to hook off of. You know, Budweiser came out with Bud Light. It's called brand extension. And what happened is Bud Light cut into Budweiser's profits because Bud Light became more popular. And Starbucks came out with Starbucks ice cream, their Frappuccino ice cream, and it crashed. It didn't do good at all. That brand extension did not work. But I think brand extension on Build Back Better works. And I think saying what does Build Back Better mean is a perfect takeoff on it. Because we can easily lay out what the proposed legislation is. We can give a definition of it, which isn't an opinion. I'm not telling you right or wrong, good or bad. I'm not telling you they should pass it or shouldn't pass it. I'm saying this is what it says. Top ordinary income tax rate, 37%. Go back and look at the chart I showed you in the very beginning. See how that's different. But my gosh, this is a great marketing message to send out. The top ordinary income tax went up to 37%. Is that what you're expecting to pay? What plans do you have to limit the impact to your family? I mean, what a great marketing message. Top long-term capital gains rate at 20%. Estate and a gift tax exemptions, $12 million. I mean, how many people have an estate plan out there that they put together and their estate's less than $12 million? If that goes through, I wonder how many of them are going to think, well, maybe I don't really need that. I don't know, but maybe what they need is a trusted advisor to discuss it with. And this is regarding the latest draft. I talked about this earlier, the NIT. There's an application for the NIT to have a surtax for S corporations. So we've talked now for a while, a good half hour. So I'm going to throw it over to you guys and see if you'll type in the chat box and tell me what is an S corporation in marketing terms. Are you throwing away free money? Absolutely. How is this voluntary pay cut working? I love that, Richard. And how is this voluntary pay cut working out? Fantastic. Do you love free money? Are you leaving money on the table? Is there you guys are great. You guys are great. All right. Well, just tell me. Go ahead and tell me what, now that you've learned some of my marketing thinking, what is an S corporation? It's a target market. There's no question about it. But what else is it? Type in the chat box and tell me what else it is. I'll come back to it in just a second. So there's also an additional surtax of 5 and 3%. Notice the words I've got bolded. Greater than 10 million and 25 million. Applies to trust at 200,000 and 500,000. Prospect. Kathleen, you're absolutely correct. It's a prospect, but it's also a lead type. So you can go out and get a lead type of an S corporation. And they gave you the income, right? 10 million to 25 million. So an S corporation that's been in business for 2 years or longer, 25 or more employees, and has a gross annual revenue of 10 million or more. See how that's a lead type? And now we can market to that type. Applies to trust at 200 to 500,000. You could get a profile list of trust and market to the trust. And all I'm doing is talking about Build Back Better, right? I'm not expressing an opinion one way or the other, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm simply informing you as a consumer what's in Build Back Better. Limit for 1202 qualified small business stock, and that's called a, ready, lead type, and a prospect, right? Like Kathleen said, a prospect, absolutely. Enhanced child tax credit for 2022. You think that will, if that goes through, do you think that is going to affect 2023? I think I should have a marketing message prepared for that. I know that for sure. So here's the proposed legislation that would replace the current 10,000 cap on deductions, known as a SALT, with a 72,500 cap through 2031. Now, I want you to notice I bolded the word through. I'm not just going to say 2031 because people will dismiss that. But when I say through 2021, that gives it a sense of longevity. So even though this hasn't gone through, can you think of a message parents everywhere will love to hear about? Absolutely, Kathleen. Absolutely, they will. And I expect to see that in your, I want you to email me the email template when you put that together. I want to see that because you're absolutely right. Everyone's going to want to see that. So right now is the time to put together email templates about SALT. Because even if they don't do anything with it, you can send out an email template telling great news, it didn't go through. If you were worried about it, now you can be relieved. If it does go through or it's modified, great news, I've got the latest information for you. And I'm not going to read all the details about it, but you see all the details there. I mean, it's great. Higher tax bill, SALT cap is raised. So if it goes through, there's your heading. SALT tax cap is raised. Through 2025, AMT changes, sunset. Don't let your SALT cap sunset, resulting in the loss of SALT deductions. Are you worried about SALT deductions if it goes through? How would the SALT deductions impact you? See the messaging? Now that said, don't celebrate yet. Again, I'm not expressing a political opinion one way or the other about Build Back Better, but it is a great marketing message for us. Several senators, including Bernie Sanders, are advancing an alternative solution. Write that down right now. Take your pen and write that down. That is a great messaging for you to use to start off your email templates. Advancing an alternative solution. I can even think of what it said. I'm sorry, but I feel like it's time to advance an alternative solution. Or this made me mad. I think we need to advance an alternative solution. Or this is great. Finally, an alternative solution. See how I'm using that? That would permanently remove. How great of messaging is that? Permanently remove. Let's don't talk about, like in life insurance, let's don't talk about protecting your risks. Let's permanently remove the fear of loss. What great messaging. Right now, the House proposal seems to have the widest support, but it's far from the guaranteed. This right here in itself is an email template. It hasn't gone through, but right now, that's the messaging. And the reason this messaging is so great is we have the entire year to communicate with people. And when you have a call to action, whether it's a free download that you have, a lot of your carriers have brochures that address a lot of these subjects. I know a lot of the annuity carriers do. When you have a video that they can click and watch, or when you're able to put a calendar on your email template where they can click. And here's my counsel to you. You know, people are nervous today. I think they have been for a long time. But people are nervous today about scheduling an hour with a salesperson. I mean, who wants to talk to a salesperson? Oh my God, they're going to try and sell me. And nobody wants to be sold, right? We want to buy. That's why when you go to a car dealership and you get out of the car and a car salesman comes up and says, "Can I help you?" You say, "No, I'm just looking." I mean, a car dealership is a destination place. Nobody's driving to Publix grocery store or Kroger grocery store or Albertsons grocery store and says, "Hey, what the heck? Let's stop and look at a car." Right? You pull into a dealership because you have some kind of interest in a car. The reason we say to the car salesman, "I'm just looking," isn't because we're lying to them. I mean, we're there because we're actually interested in looking at a car. We say, "I'm just looking," because we don't want to be sold. And that's why we need to have a 15-minute calendar. Because when we tell people to schedule an hour meeting with us, they are going to shy off of that because they don't want to invest an hour because they feel like they're making a commitment. But I can answer your questions in 15 minutes or less. And then when they click that link and schedule that 15 minutes, when they do it with me, I look at my watch and I say it's 2:45. And then at 3 o'clock, I said, "I just wanted you to know it's 3 o'clock." And they go, "Oh, yeah, this was 15 minutes. I'm sorry." And I said, "No, I'm really interested in this. I'll make the time. Go ahead." And guess what they say? "Thank you." It flips the whole a paradigm of the relationship, that you're doing them a favor. So those are the three call to actions that I would suggest you have in there. That is a download, a video, or your calendar so they can schedule 15 minutes. And make sure you make it clear to them that you can answer the questions in 15 minutes or less. All right, I got to wind this up. I could talk on this all day. So most of the retirement account related provisions are now back in. That in itself should have already gone out as an email template. And look how I've worded this: elimination of the back door. I don't even have to like do a lot of details on Roth and Mega, just elimination of the back door. Click here to learn more. And that's what I watch, right? I watch the email delivery, the open rate, and the click-through. If I have great email delivery, excuse me, if I have great open rate, and I've got really good click-through rates, my calendar is going to be booked. Prohibition on IRA, Roth IRA contributions. Prohibition. See how I start that off? Prohibition. With more than 10 million in retirement accounts and high income. More than 10 million. If anybody clicks that, I think that's called intent response. You have intent marketing and intent response. I think I kind of get the hint that they're clicking on that because they've got more than 10 million. There's a good chance, kind of a good chance, I might want to talk to them. So here's my messaging. RMD for taxpayers with greater than 10 million in retirement accounts and high income, 400,000 single, 450,000 joint, which by the way, that is a target market, right? And that's a lead type. You can get a lead type of profile list, WS Ponton, single people 400,000 or more, married couples 450,000 or more. With special Roth RMDs for those with more than 20 million in retirement accounts, effective 2029. So when are they concerned about backdoor Roth gone, alternatives? Absolutely. Did you see that? Henry said backdoor Roth gone, alternatives exist. Get your answers in 15 minutes or less. Add that in there, Harry. Get your answers in 15 minutes or less. That's great. No Roth conversions at all for high income. No Roth conversions at all for high income. Are you missing out? Will you miss out? And when's it effective? 2032. If they want to take advantage of that, this is 2022. How long do they have to take advantage of that? I'm not sure, but would you be willing to have a client for 9 years and then roll the money over after that? I don't know. Maybe something to think about. Statute of limitations. That sounds kind of stark, but stark messages work if they're presented as a part of an ongoing messaging. Richard, hang on and I'll show you how thank you, Richard. I appreciate the comment. Hang on and I'll show you how you can participate in the follow-up sessions. Yeah. So statute of limitations on IRA non-compliance. So that's great messaging. So here you go, Richard. So if all this gave you some great ideas, there are Advisor Max classes going on almost every day of the week. I run the one on Tuesday. And you can get in it today. This link is only for those people that are on my call today. You can't get this link anywhere else. You can only get it on my call. Normally $497 a month. This is $197 just because I'm doing this today. But I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to just you. I want to talk to you, the one who's thinking $197, and you're doing the math times 12, and your fear is that you're going to jump in and you're not going to get the sale to pay for this. Here's my question for you. It's a monthly, $197 a month, cancel anytime, Henry. But if I do the math correctly, a $100,000 annuity at a 3% commission is $3,000. Type in the chat box and just tell me if I'm misreading this. If you learned one thing in here today, just one thing, that could help you sell one annuity, would that pay for this? Did anybody learn at least one thing today that would help you sell one annuity in the next year? Type in the chat box and just tell me yes or no. Or maybe an IUL, one IUL, one life policy. You're on a 100% contract and you sell a $150 a month life policy. Would that pay for it for a whole year? You know, we are always willing to invest in leads that we don't have confidence are good. And we're always willing to invest in marketing that we don't know how to do ourselves. But what we struggle with is having a core list of advisors that can give us the information we need at the time we need it so that we can make changes in our business plan in real time. And the impact you can have in your business by jumping into this at $197 a month means that you can log into the members area and you can go back over the last year and you can get any of the great training that's out there, any of the power hours that have been done. I've talked a lot about messaging today. You want to be able to go in there and see all the great copywriting and communication by Sky. If you want to look at building and scaling a virtual practice, if you want to start getting your leads through LinkedIn, take advantage of one of the best platforms in the world to help build your business. If you want to jump on Tuesdays for sales techniques, psychologies, and scripts, that $197 a month is less than the cost of 5 annuity leads. It's less than the cost of a profile list. And it's not even half the cost of a direct mail campaign that the last time you bought a direct mail campaign, you either got 8 cards back and no appointments, or you didn't know that you should have gotten the non-responder list with email when available, and you wasted that money. So if this was helpful to you today, if you feel like that right there, this type of information would help you change your business, then you should jump on, click on the link, and take advantage of that. This $197 is only available for those of you who are on the call today. And I'm going to open this up right now and see what questions or comments anyone has. So type in the chat box. I know I covered a lot of information for you, but type in the chat box and tell me, do you see the tax laws as I've shown you today have to go Passover, prep time, have set up appointment? Oh, that's fine, Henry. No problem, buddy. Set up your appointment, have a talk with the team and see if this is something that would work for you. I appreciate your input. You helped make this a good class today. The Yeah, so the 14-day trial is exclusive. It's only available to the people who get on with this link today. And that'll give you 14 days to log in. And that's the biggest thing you can do. I mean, here's the thing. In 14 days, if you haven't logged in 7 times and taken enough notes to sell 3 annuities, then this probably isn't the right place for you anyway. But just think about it. One annuity, if you picked up one additional annuity a quarter, it's 4 annuity, just 100,000 annuity a quarter, you're going to increase your income $12,000 just through annuities by building a relationship. And the other thing that we haven't talked about, and I think it's really critical, is when you do intent marketing like this, and you have great email funnels, and you build your network, these people become your evangelists, and they stay loyal to you because you're constantly bringing them great content and great value. And welcome back, Jim. And you're bringing great value to them. And what people are looking for is at the time they're being impacted by something, they don't know where to go for an answer. And you can set yourself up to be the person to provide that answer for them. And there's nothing, as a salesperson, there's nothing more satisfying than to jump on your computer, open your calendar, and see appointments already populated on your calendar. I mean, imagine you find out that yesterday 7 people downloaded your free download, and the reply email thanking them for doing the download was already sent out. And 4 of those 7 people already scheduled a 15-minute visit with you. Imagine logging into your calendar and 3 people that you had a 15-minute visit with last week have scheduled their second meeting with you, and they filled out the form with their financial information. Imagine that happening. What would stop that from happening? Well, the one thing that I always found that stopped me from having that happen in my business is I didn't know what I didn't know. And when I invested in the resources and the team to keep me informed, it's kind of like, Brad, thank you for being on here. I appreciate that. You being here and mentioning the marketing calendar. It's kind of like Steve Jobs said. Steve Jobs said he hires people smarter than him, not so he can tell them what to do, so they can tell him what to do. And that's what you get here. You get people that can tell you what you should be doing to grow your business. And that's a deep question you asked, Brad, about how I segment my list. I segment my list by my messaging. So I get my lead type, my lead source, my lead type, my target market. I create the messaging, and then I segment my responses back to the messaging, because I want to talk to people on the level of the communication that they developed with me. Let's see, saying build an email template and have it ready. How do you keep track of all the ones you suggested? And how do you keep track of the response like you're speaking of? That I'm a one-person shop. You are the exact person, Kathleen, that should be in here. Those are great questions, but this is kind of like giving a haircut over a Zoom call, right? You've got the hair, I've got the scissors. We don't know if there's a good cut here. That's why you should schedule your call. But I'll give you 2 answers for that. Building your email template means that you build the templates so the messaging can be edited. Once the templates are built, all you have to go in is, if one of these regulations or laws change, you go into that particular lead email template and you change the information and then save it. And it's the templates that send it out and create the relationship and build the marketing. And the way you manage that is you have your email platform connected to a great CRM that keeps you informed and let it do the work for you. Listen, we've been over 2 hours. I'm going to have to jump off of this. I'm going to throw it out there one more time. Any comments or questions? Did this work out? How do you feel like this went for you today? Did you just get some value out of it? I'll give you a minute or so to type in the chat box, and then I'm going to jump off of here. So just type in the chat box and let me know how you felt about this. Did you get something good out of this? And click on the link regardless of what you do, and you can find out more information about whether there's replays or not. Dave, I appreciate you saying that, friend. You're a good guy. All right, one last time. Any comments or questions anybody has before we jump off? Kathleen, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Tracy, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being on here. Remember, this is about you. You know, if you don't jump on this offer today, it's not going to impact other people's business in any way, shape, or form. But it could greatly impact your business. So I would just tell you to think about it. All right, guys, I got to go. I'm going to jump off here and we'll talk to you later.